All right, get this. We're diving into some seriously deep stuff today, right? The Blue Equinox. This journal's like, whoa, a crash course in mystical teachings.
What?
You wouldn't believe the stuff packed in here.
Yeah, not your average bedtime read, that's for sure.
Okay.
More like think Insider's Guide to the RA and OTO.
Ah, those guys.
Yeah, groups that really live and breathe this stuff, occult instruction, mystical teachings, the whole shebang. This journal's their way of getting the word out, you know?
And talk about dedication, right? They time this thing to the spring and autumn equinoxes. Not exactly a typical publishing schedule, is it? What's the deal with that? It's got to be like some cosmic marketing strategy or something.
I guess you could say they're on a different kind of calendar. See, to them, the equinox is more than just a date. They see it as like this surge of fresh energy, almost like a cosmic reset button, you know?
Right, right.
Especially the spring equinox when the sun's really starting to make its presence known, and it's like prime time for new beginnings, and especially for these guys, spiritual ones.
Okay, so serious about aligning with the cosmos. I can dig it. But this journal, it's not just all like star charts and chanting. I mean, we're talking dictionaries, whole sections on death. Even Christianity gets a look. What's the common thread, you think?
Yeah, it's all over the map, you know? Poetry, fiction, even like how-to guides for magical rituals. It's pretty wild. But I think underneath it all, the AA and the OTO, they're trying to lay out a path, a way to understand the universe and our place in it, you know?
And they're serious about sharing this knowledge. I mean, they even mention in the journal that they're like losing money on this publication, especially with the war driving up printing costs. They could be out there sipping mojitos on a beach somewhere, but no, they're choosing to spread this wisdom.
Yeah, they're definitely not in it for the money, that's for sure. I mean, they straight up say they don't profit from their publications. They believe this knowledge should just be out there, available, period, which I gotta say, that's a pretty radical idea these days.
No kidding. All right, so we've got these groups. The India specifically, they seem to be pretty structured in how they teach this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Big on having a system they are. Like, they'd probably say something like, you wouldn't just, you know, walk into a library and expect to understand everything all at once, right?
Right, right.
You need a framework, you need a foundation to build on. Otherwise, it's just a jumble of cool, but let's face it, kind of meaningless information.
So like building a house, right? You don't start with the roof.
Exactly.
Got to have that solid base.
You got it.
And that seems to be where these degrees of initiation come in. It's like leveling up in a video game, but for your soul.
Yeah, you got it. They have these things, they call them ordeals, which, I mean, sounds intense, right? But it's really more like a structured way to test and prepare you as you progress. And here's the kicker. The path, it's different for those in the outer and inner colleges. It's like reflects the depth of knowledge they're dealing with.
So like a secret society within a secret society.
Something like that, yeah.
And for those who make it to those top levels, like those major adepts, the journal drops these hints about like some next level knowledge, especially for those who've hit that 9th degree of the OTO. It's like they're saying, hey, you know, keep leveling up. It's worth it.
Yeah, they throw out these names. Liber, CLVI, Liber XOV, Liber DCCCCLX8. It's a mouthful, right. But I don't think they're just showing off. These texts, they supposedly hold like the keys to deeper understanding, but they're only accessible to those who've, you know, they've proven themselves.
Okay, now I'm hooked. It's like, just kidding.
And
But it's not just about hoarding knowledge, is it? It's about what you do with it.
yeah.
There's this big emphasis on discovering your true will, your purpose,
Yeah.
and then like chasing after it. Like your life depends on it.
Yeah, that's the crux of it. They compare it to like a planet's orbit, you know? Once you find your true will, your purpose, you're locked in, no distractions, no detours.
So no pressure, right? Just like find your cosmic path and stick to it.
Which leads us to like the million-dollar question. What is this law of Thelema they keep mentioning? It's like the beating heart of this whole thing, this whole system.
It all boils down to this book, the Book of the Law. And let's be real, it caused quite a stir, this book. Its central message, about as bold as it gets. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Whoa. Okay, so talk about freedom of choice.
Right.
But something tells me there's more to it than meets the eye.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it's not about just, you know, doing whatever you feel like, indulging every whim. It's about aligning yourself with that deeper purpose, your true will, which they believe is like in sync with the divine, you know?
Yeah.
Like you have this spark of the divine in you inherently.
I love that. They even use this incredible imagery to describe it, right? Like talking about Nuit and Hadith, these like cosmic forces that represent like the essence of existence itself. This is next level stuff. Yeah, they don't skimp on the imagery, that's for sure. So Nui, she's often shown as this like vast star-filled sky, representing the infinite, the eternal. And then you've got Hadit, sometimes depicted as this like winged globe or a point of light. Think the infinitely small, the spark of awareness within each of us. And the universe, at least according to them, is the result of these two forces, coming together.
So like this beautiful cosmic dance,
Exactly.
this merging of opposites. And the journal, it mentions all these rituals, these feasts. It's like they see existence itself as this big celebration.
Absolutely, yeah. Celebrating life, love, even death, To them, it's all an expression of the divine.
Okay, that's a breath of fresh air compared to some of those traditions that are all about like denial and detachment. Speak of history, though, this OTO group, they've been around the block a few times, haven't they?
Well, they've got stories, that's for sure. Even the journal, it dives a bit into their history, references a text called It This, Liber LXI, basically their family tree. And let me tell you, it's full of intrigue.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
So give us the inside scoop. What kind of challenges did they face?
Well, it wasn't all smooth sailing, that's for sure. Internal conflicts, periods of instability, they've seen it all. But throughout it all, they really fought to keep their core teachings intact.
Weathered a few storms, you could say. Speaking of weathering storms, I'm fascinated by these figures they mention. SRMD and P. Almost mythical figures, it seems, who played like these key roles in the OTO's journey.
Yeah, and the journal kind of hints at their influence, the tests they faced. It really emphasizes that, true leadership, it wasn't just handed out, you had to earn it. Go through the fire, come out the other side transformed.
Okay, now that's what I call a job interview.
Right.
But let's talk about the practical side of all this. Rituals. This is where things get really interesting, right?
Yeah, this is where the rubber meets the road. They dedicate a good chunk of the journal to these, like, intricate ceremonies. One that really caught my eye, the invocation of the Holy Guardian Angel. Now, we're not talking just like lighting some candles and hoping for the best. This is next level stuff.
Martin, you've piqued my curiosity. Paint me a picture. What goes down at one of these rituals?
Okay, so imagine this. You've got a priest, a priestess, even a deacon, all decked out in these elaborate robes. There's a crown, a lance. It's a whole production. And each element, each participant, even the colors they wear, it's all imbued with symbolic meaning.
Okay, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. It's like something out of a movie. But what's the point of all this? It's got to be more than just spectacle, right?
Oh, yeah. It's about creating a shift, both within yourself and the energy around you. So they're using these like sensory cues, colors, incense, chants to create a gateway, a bridge between, this everyday world and the divine.
It's like they're hacking the spiritual mainframe using ancient technology.
There you go.
But they don't just stop at these elaborate ceremonies, do they?
Yeah.
The journal, it also delves into the personal journey of this aspirant, this Frater VIO. It's documented in its Liber CLXV. It's like we're getting a front row seat to someone's spiritual awakening.
Yeah, and what's fascinating about Frater VIO's account, it brings these like high-level concepts down to earth. He's brutally honest about his struggles, his doubts. It's refreshing.
And it reminds us that this isn't some, overnight transformation, right?
Oh, no.
It's a process with bumps along the way.
Absolute.
And he does not shy away from sharing those bumps, does he?
Not at all. He talks about, feeling lost, frustrated, even questioning the whole thing. But what's inspiring is that he sticks with it. He keeps practicing, keeps searching for the truth.
It's like he's saying, look, it's not always easy, but it's worth it. And he even talks about some pretty wild experiences, like the breath playing upon the skin and seeing a minute point of light. That's some next level sensory stuff.
It really does highlight just how much our perception can shift when we commit to this kind of journey.
He's like, yeah, things get weird, but stick with it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it seems like Frater VIO, he reaches this profound realization, this oneness. Like he's finally cracked the cosmic code.
Exactly. He describes it as this merging with something far greater than himself, this state of pure awareness where the boundaries of the individual self, they dissolve. It's like that Alan Watts quote, "You are the universe experiencing itself."
Okay, now that's deep. But it doesn't end there, does it? What does he do with this newfound awareness?
And this is where it gets really interesting because instead of just like basking in the state of oneness, he's instructed to help others achieve it.
So it's not enough to just experience enlightenment for yourself. You got to share it, pay it forward.
It's like a spiritual chain reaction.
Exactly.
I love it.
Wow. Okay, so we've only just scratched the surface of the Blue Equinox, and we're already swimming in these profound insights.
We're just getting started. Trust me, there's so much more where that came from.
This is why I love a good deep dive.
Ready to jump back into the rabbit hole of the Blue Equinox? Last we talked, it was all about Freighter VIO and that wild ride to oneness, right?
Mind-blowing stuff, no doubt. But before we get too far out there, you mentioned this journal's not all, like, lofty concepts and whatnot. There's some practical everyday life guidance too, right?
Oh, absolutely, for sure. One thing that jumps out is this whole true will thing they keep coming back to.
Right.
And look, this isn't just about figuring out your dream job or what you're having for dinner tonight. This is like deep down, capital P purpose. The reason you're on this crazy ride we call life, you know?
Okay, yeah, getting deep. But how are we supposed to figure that out? It's not like there's a magic 8-ball for this stuff.
You're telling me. No quick fix, that's for sure. They're big on self-reflection, deep inner work, all that. One thing they suggest, keeping a detailed journal. And not just, Dear Diary entries. We're talking a record of your practices, insights, even your dreams, all of it.
So become your own, like a soul biographer?
Exactly. The idea is you start to notice patterns, right? Those themes, those desires, the things that keep popping up, they'd say those are breadcrumbs leading you to that true will.
I like that, following those soul breadcrumbs. But what about when you feel lost? I mean, we all get that, right? Unsure which way to turn, what path to take. They have some advice for that too, don't they?
For sure. They wouldn't leave you hanging. Cultivating intuition is a big one. Like learning to actually trust that inner voice, even when it's whispering.
You mean that gut feeling we usually ignore?
That's the one. They'd say that's your intuition trying to get through. And the more you listen, the stronger it gets.
So it's like a muscle then. Work it out.
Exactly. But for those times when you need a bit more, shall we say, concrete guidance, they're really into something called geomancy.
Hold on, geomancy, that sounds intense. Is that like crystals and tarot cards and such?
Not quite. It's a form of divination, yeah. But more about connecting with the Earth's energy to get answers,
Okay, so not your grandma's divination then.
More like tapping into this deeper wisdom.
Yeah.
Seeing past the limits of your own mind, getting guidance from something bigger.
Wild. But let's, pull back down to earth for a sec. We've talked rituals, true will, but what about the everyday stuff? Our relationships, work, all the mundane things? How do these teachings fit into that?
See, that's the cool part. They don't think spirituality should be stuck on some mountaintop, It's about taking those principles and weaving them into your actual life.
So less talk, more action. Got it. But how do we do that? Like practical tips? Give it to me straight.
Mindfulness. It's a buzzword these days, I know. But they mean really bringing awareness to everything you do.
Even like washing the dishes. Or is that too far?
Not at all. It's about finding that sacred in the ordinary. Bringing purpose to every little thing. Folding laundry, like you said, it's all part of it.
Okay. Can see how that would be a game changer. But relationships. Trickier than laundry, usually. Any tips for navigating those?
Oh, tell me about it. But that's where this gets really good. They see every interaction, every single relationship as a chance for growth.
Oh, I like that. So even that coworker who drives you crazy, or that family member, the one always pushing your buttons.
Especially those. They'd say those difficult people, they're often the ones with the biggest lessons to teach you.
Turning them into, like, spiritual teachers. Now that's a perspective shift.
Exactly. Though they're not saying it's easy, setting boundaries is crucial. Learning to say no, not getting sucked into other people's dramas, all part of the process.
So staying true to yourself, even in the middle of chaos.
You got it. And for that, they've got some techniques. Ritual cleansing, for one. And before you picture something crazy, this could be as simple as a salt bath after a long day. Or burning some sage to clear out bad vibes.
Practical magic for the modern world. I like it. What about when we mess up, though? Because we all do. Making choices that, don't line up with our values or even hurt someone else. How do they say we deal with those not-so-great moments?
Taking responsibility is huge EE for them. No excuses, no blaming others. They tell you, own it, learn from it, and move on.
No room for wallowing in guilt, then?
Not if you can help it. They'd say that just keeps you stuck. Forgiveness is key, forgiving yourself and the others.
Easier said than done, right?
Totally. But they've got tips for that, too. One they recommend is loving kindness meditation.
Okay, break that down for me. How does that even work?
So it's basically sending feelings of love and compassion to yourself first, then to loved ones, then to people you don't really know, and eventually even to those who've hurt you.
Intense, but powerful, too, if you can pull it off.
Exactly. They believe that practicing this kind of, Radical forgiveness, it's transformative. Breaks down the walls around your heart.
Choosing love over fear,
Right.
even when it's tough.
Precisely. And the more we do that, they'd say, the more it spreads outward, touching everyone around us, like this ripple effect.
So it's not just about you changing, it's about changing the world.
Bingo. Heal yourself, heal the world. Right. That's a pretty awesome message, if you ask me.
No argument there. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? There's more to this Blue Equinox than we can even cover.
Oh, you have no idea. We haven't even gotten to their thoughts on reality itself, or the afterlife, the mysteries of consciousness, a whole other rabbit hole.
Okay, now you've got me really hooked. Okay, so true will, relationships, forgiveness, we've gone deep, no doubt.
Yeah.
But you hinted at even wilder stuff in this Blue Equinox.
Yeah.
Lay it on me. What's the most out there concept they get into?
All right, get ready, because we're going beyond everyday life here into the realm of, well, reality itself. Ever wonder what these groups think happens after we're gone? Like the afterlife.
Now you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
Always been curious about that. So pearly gates, harps, or something a bit more unexpected.
Let's just say not your typical fluffy cloud scenario. They're very into Egyptian mythology, the soul's journey through the underworld, like in the Book of the Dead, that kind of thing. They even have their own version outlined in Liber 777.
All right, ancient Egypt, underworld journeys. This I gotta hear. Details, please.
Okay, picture this. You die, right? And your soul, it's got this whole perilous journey ahead of it through different realms. Each one's like a test of your character, how far you've come spiritually.
Whoa, and what if you fail a test? Is it like eternal damnation, fire and brimstone?
Not quite so final. They don't really do eternal punishment. Think of it more as cycles, death and rebirth. If you haven't learned the lessons you need to, back you go, reincarnated until you get it right.
Cosmic school, you're stuck repeating the grade till you pass.
Exactly. And each lifetime, it's like a chance to level up your soul. They even think we choose our lives. Like our souls pick the experiences we need for growth.
So even the hard stuff, those are lessons we signed up for. Cosmic choose your own adventure, but with higher stakes.
Something like that. But they're not all doom and gloom. They give you ways to navigate this more consciously. Remember the Book of the Golden Precepts we talked about? There's instructions for something they call astral travel.
Wait, hold up. Astral travel? As in out-of-body experiences. Are they saying that's a real thing?
Oh, they're all about exploring those non-physical realms. They believe astral travel lets you do it while you're still alive. They even give techniques how to induce these out-of-body states, separate your consciousness from the physical. Wild stuff.
So it's like a test drive before you buy the car. Scope out the afterlife before you move in permanently.
You could say that. The idea is, by practicing, you get familiar with those realms, face your fears even, maybe work through some of those karmic lessons N and W so you don't have to later.
That's some serious life hacking.
Yeah.
Okay, but consciousness itself, they don't buy into that whole brain in a jar idea, do they?
Oh no, way ahead of their time on that one. They'd say consciousness, it's not limited to your body. It's this universal energy, a fundamental force running through everything.
So less brain in a jar, more like consciousness in everything.
You got it. We're all connected to this universal consciousness, like drops in a giant ocean, they'd say. And through meditation, rituals, that kind of thing, we can tap into it, become more aware, even influence reality itself.
Okay, now that's a powerful thought. And speaking of powerful, we got to talk magic.
Oh, yeah. And not the pulling a rabbit out of a hat kind either. They're serious about it. See it as a science almost, a technology for working with these subtle energies that make up reality.
So less about illusions, more about actually like changing reality.
Exactly. They believe if you understand these energies, work with them ethically, you can have a real impact on your life and the world around you. Powerful stuff.
Now that I can get behind.
Yeah.
But wow, we've covered a lot here. Rituals, true will, the afterlife, even magic. Easy to get overwhelmed,
For sure, it's a lot, but remember what we said before, don't try to grasp it all at once, right? This equinox, it's one piece of a giant puzzle. They even say so themselves. Encourage you to keep learning, check out other texts, but most importantly, to actually UE what you learn.
So not just reading about it, but putting it into practice, experimenting, seeing what works.
That's it. That's where the real magic happens, according to them, and that messy, exciting process of discovering yourself spiritually.
Love that. Okay, so for anyone listening who's now fired up, ready to dive into the Blue Equinox themselves, what's the one thing you want them to take away from all this?
I'd say this. These groups, they offer a path, a way to make sense of the universe and your place in it. But it's not passive. They're pushing you to question everything, to go deep within yourself, and to really grab hold of your own destiny.
Like they're handing you the keys to the cosmos and saying, go explore.
Exactly. Who knows what you'll find out there?
And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive. But remember, for you, this is just the beginning. Keep asking those big questions, keep seeking, and as always, keep those stars shining bright.